Hello and welcome to the Learning Love Podcast, brought to you by the Learning Love Foundation, helping people transform how they love, live, and lead. I'm your host, Dr. Mark A. Hicks, and I want to thank you for joining us today as we spend some time learning love. Love is the answer. Now all we have to do is explore all the questions. And today, as we are exploring life and how to address it and how to find that love, the wisdom, the relationships that we want, I'm going to give you a little trick. And I'm going to tell you up front, it's going to be hard. It's going to be really hard. This is not 3 easy steps. This is going to be hard. But if you practice this very difficult practice, you'll get better at it. And it's going to change your life, and it's going to change your attitude, and it's going to make you healthier, and it's going to change your relationships. There's this one practice that you can bring into your life that's excruciatingly difficult to develop. But once you do, it's going to have a really powerful effect and help you build the kind of relationships that you want. And that is learn to embrace silence. Learn to be quiet. Learn to not talk, even to yourself. Learn to turn your brain off a little bit and just be quiet. This is increasingly difficult in our society. Social media, it's addictive. It really is. And I'm not saying that as a condemnation. I think social media is like a lot of other things. It has good, it has bad. It can be used for great things. It can be used for very negative things. So I'm not judging that. But I'm saying our brains get sort of accustomed to that rhythm of just scrolling when we've got nothing else to do. When we just have a moment, we may be sitting at a red light and we may pick up our phone and just scroll through social media a little bit until the person behind us starts honking their horn that we're sitting to a green light. We have a tendency to always have noise around us. We have media, we have television, we have radio, we have something. We're talking all the time. We're talking to ourselves. Our brains are constantly going. And we tend to have fears and anxieties and all of these things in our life that just keep popping up in our minds, that are constantly just sort of eating at us and keeps our brains on high alert. Because I've talked about this in past episodes, our brains are there to protect us. Our brains are not there to make us happy. Brains are there to protect us. And so our brains are constantly on a high alert, trying to find something that might harm us. And because we are always on that high alert and we're always being bombarded with noise and with stimulation and with people talking and with social media and with all the stuff of life, and then we talk to ourselves, we run these things through our brains, we even get into places like the shower where it could be quiet, but what are we doing? We're thinking through all the arguments that we could have. We're thinking through what we're going to say to that person when we confront them that we're never actually going to confront. We go through the argument that we had last week at work with our coworker and what we should have said. And instead of just having a quiet time with the hot water and relaxing, we're going through all these imaginary scenarios. We do the same thing at night when the lights are out, we're in bed, we're quiet, everything's silent in the whole house. There's no noise, there's no lights. We're just laying there, and what do? We start thinking. We may be thinking about something 20 years ago that embarrassed us, and we go back through that whole scenario. It's no wonder that we're so keyed up. It's no wonder that our nervous systems are so high alert all the time because we're never quiet. We're always creating scenarios in our minds. We're always thinking about arguments we had or could have or should have or might have. We're always thinking about that problem we need to address and that worry at work and the to-do list that we've got tomorrow. And that's a lot. That is a lot of stuff. And when we carry that all the time, day after day, week after week, maybe year after year, we start to really wear down. We get tired. We get irritable. We just don't have the bandwidth for one more thing. Have you ever had someone come to you and ask you to do something and you think, why are you asking me for this? Even though it may be a very small thing. And if you look at our calendars, we may have more than enough time to do it. And it may be completely within our ability to do it, but we just feel overwhelmed by it. Why are you asking me one more thing? I don't have the bandwidth for one more thing. We may have the time, we may have the ability, but we're just emotionally exhausted from all the stuff. there's a cure for this. If that's describing you, there is a cure for this, and it's called silence. And you don't have to have a lot of it, but you need to have it on a regular basis. Some quiet time can help regulate your nervous system so that you're not always on high alert, that you're not always in that mode of anxiety, that sense of stress. Simply being quiet, taking some deep breaths, trying not to think, and if anything pops into your head, that's fine. Don't beat yourself up over it. Just let it go through. Put that thought aside and move on. Take some deep breaths and just be quiet. It's going to feel really weird, and it might even cause you a little stress at first. You might be feeling like, if I'm trying to relax, if I'm trying to be quiet, if I'm trying not to think, I might be missing something. There might be something happening that I'm going to miss. I'm not going to see that thing on social media. I'm not going to think that thought I need to think in order to protect me from the next thing that's going to happen. All this stuff comes into our minds. It's going to feel weird. It's going to be hard. Practice. It's like every other skill. When you practice any skill, you get better. From basketball to cooking to gardening, it doesn't matter what it is. If you practice, you're going to get better. Nobody's saying that you need to become a monk that sits for hours in silence. Nobody's saying that. I visited a monastery one time, a group that I was with. We went on this little excursion to a monastery, and the whole campus was silent. The monks had certain places where they did their work, and they could speak there, they could interact, and they did have relationships with one another, they had friendships, and they worked together to run that whole monastery, but there was only certain places where they could do that. The campus as a whole was silent because it was meant to be a place of reflection. It was really interesting to watch that, how much anxiety that caused certain people, that they had to go into a place and they couldn't talk. Our group leaders said, we want you to walk around the campus. It's a silent campus. You can't say anything. If you see each other, you can't even say hi. You must be quiet all the time. But we want you to just walk around the campus and just be quiet and reflective. It was just a time of quiet reflection. And so I did that. And I thought it was actually a quite nice day. It was a beautiful day out, great weather, blue skies. It was a beautiful campus. And so I just walked around quietly, and I actually found it pretty relaxing. So I went back to the parking lot, to the bus that we had arrived on, and discovered that many people in our group had immediately gone back to the parking lot, to the bus, so they could talk. They could not stand the idea of walking silently around the campus for any amount of time. They went directly back to the parking lot because you were allowed to talk in the parking lot. And they got back and they got in their group and they started having a conversation. Now, I'm not criticizing that. I'm glad they're very social people. That's good. But it does show one of the reasons why we have such anxieties. We don't take the time to regulate our nervous system by just calming down a little bit, a few minutes. You don't have to be a monk. You don't have to live in silence. You don't have to take a vow of silence or anything of that nature. A minute or two here and there. A couple of minutes, 3 or 4 times a day. Just take some deep breaths and be quiet. And even let your brain be quiet for a few minutes. Now, if we do this, you're going to regulate your nervous system. You're going to have better mental clarity and emotional clarity, emotional processing. We're going to have more creativity and insight, because very often the reason we can't come up with a creative solution is because our brains are just running a mile a minute with what the problem is, and we're not actually focusing on a solution. When we get quiet, sometimes that creativity comes back, and we can actually start to see solutions to problems rather than just analyzing the problem. And we're not going to be so reactive. We're not going to have that knee-jerk reaction to every stimulus that comes along, everything that gets said, every problem that might pop up, even if it's this tiny one. We don't have to be so reactive. When we learn to be quiet, we can take that few seconds, a couple of minutes, be quiet, not have knee-jerk reaction, calm down, and then have a rational response. Now think of what that would do for our relationships. That if we knew how to be quiet, to practice silence a little bit, that we have that ability to turn our brains off from all the racket and just be quiet. What do you think that would do when we're trying to listen to someone? When we're trying to listen to our spouse or partner? When we're trying to listen to a friend or coworker that's upset about something? We would probably have a lot better ability to actually listen if we had practiced silence. If we had practiced turning off the noise and being able to focus, we would actually be better listeners. We would not be just thinking about what we're going to say when they finally hush. We're not going to be thinking about our reaction of how this affects us, but we can actually listen to the people in our lives. And that in itself, letting them know they've been heard, is going to improve relationships. Just that much can improve a lot of relationships. We're going to be less defensive because we're going to have more bandwidth. We're not going to be at our wits' end all the time. And so when things do go wrong, we don't have to be defensive. We're going to have more energy, more abilities to address problems that do come up and not just react defensively because we're already exhausted, but we're going to have that reserve because that we've built up because we've practiced this quiet. We've built up our energy. We've quieted our nervous system. We're not frantically at our wits' end all the time. We have an ability to build up a reserve because we've practiced that silence. Problems come along then, we have a little more bandwidth to deal with it. And it gives this feeling of being just safer in the world. When we are constantly focused on all of our anxieties, all of our problems, all of our stuff, all the things that could happen, it just builds up so much tension in our lives. We're going to feel much safer. And when we feel safe, we have more abilities to be vulnerable, open with our partners, with our friends, with our colleagues, to be more real and authentic. We can have all of this if we calm down, practicing some silence, letting our brains relax a bit, letting our nervous system relax a bit, and do this on a regular basis. This is not a miracle that's going to happen, the first day, but over time, a lot of good things are going to happen if we learn to be quiet. Again, this is hard. Our modern world is not built for it. Our modern world is built around noise and stimulation. And so it's going to take some practice. That's okay. You can get better at it. Take the time, practice, get better at it. And when you do, you're not only going to feel better, you're going to have better energy, you're going to be calmer, but you're going to be a better listener. You're going to have less reactive defensiveness, more reflection of how you want to address this. And that's going to make you a better partner, better spouse, better parent, better friend, better coworker, just by learning how to practice silence. It'll take some time to get good at it. That's okay. It's worth the effort. You can have more empathy, more patience, better communication, a deeper sense of connection when you get out of all the noise and learn to practice the occasional silence. And that's my thoughts this week as we are working on building the healthy, happy, thriving relationships that we all want. I want to thank all the folks associated with the Learning Love Foundation that bring you this message each week. Go to learninglovefoundation.com. You'll see all the programs available, and you'll find easy links to buy my book, Learning Love, Building a Life That Matters and Healthy Relationships That Last. As we sign off this week, I want to thank my producer, Abby Graves of Abby Graves Productions, and I want to thank all of you for listening. Until next week, love well, everyone.